Ideologies are organisms. Identity politics, like diversity and affirmative action, won't have excess wealth to feed on in the post-COVID-19 economy. Hey, what's up? Silas here. This is part of my shorty series where I take little thoughts that I have condensed into those limited characters on social media posts and things like that on different social media platforms, and I expand on them with thoughts either in the comment sections below those posts or here in videos on YouTube, BitChute, wherever you might be listening to this on. So, this one today, I'm talking about the current pandemic that's going on. A bit of a background on my background to maybe help you understand where I'm coming at to approach this idea and this thought. I have a global background. I was born in France and Europe, lived there, then I moved to Kenya, then I moved to the United States of America, moved back to Europe. I've traveled to places in South America, passed through the Middle East in flights and things like this, but I know people and care for friends and I'm aware of people all around the world. So for me, I feel I have a global idea when I think of the word. So there's a difference between, I think, globalization and globalism. I think globalization is something that's happening. It's just a growth. It's just the next step in human society. Globalism, however, is a mutated creature from the state system that is based on force. It's not just people choosing to increase the people they relate with for positives or mutually beneficial reasons. This is a different kind of animal, this is a different kind of creature, and that one I completely understand people's objections to it, but globalization is here. The globalization I speak of is a natural and positive part of the human evolution. We started with just families, and then we went to tribes, we went to clans, we went to villages, we went to towns, we went to townships, we went to regions, we went to counties, we went to like principalities, we went to nations, went to regions and nations, we went to continents, subcontinents, things like this, and now we're expanding to be that earthling, to be that globe-spanning society, that globe-spanning organism of humans, earthlings. That's something that's coming, whether you like it or not, that's what's coming. That's just what the future stands. And then from then we're going to go to living on the moon, and then we'll be extraplanetary at that stage, and then we'll go to Mars, and then it'll be multiplanetary. We'll get to be a solar system type of organism, and then we'll probably move out of the solar system. It might be galactic and things like that. These are things that are going to happen if the human organism continues to exist. Hey, for all we know, there could just be a massive asteroid just smacks the Earth right now, and that's all done. But these are things that kind of go. These are just the regular evolution things. So when you look at things in this way, this is how I look at the world. And now let's focus on just a biological physical body, an individual biological creature, organism. What is that organism made out of? A human body is made up of multiple other organisms. You can switch out a liver and put a liver in from somebody else. You can get transplants. You can cut off your nails. You can cut off your hair. You can have amputations and put like artificial limbs and things like this that become part of that human being. So there's different ways. Organisms are made of separate, smaller things. And I think there also are different kind of organisms when you come to ideologies, you come to ideas. And when somebody says a viral idea, a viral video, it is living in some kind of space of existence that you can say this is viral, moving in that way. So ideologies and ideas do have their own lifespans. They're created in a certain way, and then they continue to perpetuate themselves in a certain way. And this could be partially due to them being creations of an organism, of actual living beings. So they're created in our image in a sense. So our same life cycle is something that's projected on other organisms. There's ways and belief systems and things that were once accepted that have died off, that have changed into something else, that have given birth to other things. And those are certain things that live and exist in different environments. And identity politics, things like diversity hires, affirmative action being a thing where we have to we have to have equality in this sense. I recently saw somebody post an article that said the current pandemic, the current quarantines and things like this are going to affect men and women in a different way. I don't disagree with that. We are a sexually dimorphic species. Males and females are not the same. And then from males and females, you develop the idea of men and women due to the expectations that mostly biological male and mostly biological female, almost exclusively biological male and exclusively biological female of a certain adult age are expected to do certain things in certain societies. So yes, it is going to affect them in different ways. And they were talking about how feminism is going to be very negatively affected. And I do agree, because currently first world feminism is a first world condition. It is something that exists in a very particular socioeconomic organism. It is not something that exists in the third world. There's a reason there isn't a massive feminist movement in a place like Afghanistan. There's a reason here in Kenya I'll be walking around the streets and I'll still see women in the streets sweeping the streets. I'll still see women walking around with just these old shoshos, these old grandma ladies in their looking in their 60s and 70s, be walking around with these huge bundles on their back of newspapers, going around to different neighborhoods to collect newspapers and go around. Because when you have the economic prosperity of certain places, when you don't have excess wealth, you don't have excess resources, you can't focus on certain things. You just don't have the whole comfort. It's related to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You're dealing with certain basics where you don't have the luxury to differentiate between these things. You don't have these glut of air-conditioned jobs and things like this where you can say and activate, oh, we need this and this. We need these kind of concessions from these people so we can get certain kind of jobs. You don't really have that luxury. You don't really have that excess wealth. And some of these things were more about virtue signaling, were more about not being sued, were more about just appearing to public in a certain way and following certain social mores that people are not going to have the time for some of these things post-COVID-19. When people have had this scare of this realistic thing to think, were the things that we're doing, were the things that we considered important a few months ago really that important? Was it worthwhile for us to sacrifice somebody actually being able to create, if we have a board of people this is an entire board of just white males, and they're the ones that came up with a cure for COVID-19. Are people really going to come up to a position where they say, this is horrible. We should have made sure there were some black people there, some Latin people there. We should have made sure there was some kind of transsexual, he, she, Z, multi-gendered identifying Asian from XYZ location who spoke XYZ language, who identified as QPR. We're not going to go back to some of these things. Now, I'm not saying that was the entirety of feminism, but that was a big part of the actual vocal feminism. You're going to see certain things actually end. When you have something like the Women's March coming up, because there is going to be another Women's March, because Donald J. Trump is going to win again in 2020, they will march again, and then people will be asking them, what are you marching about? What are you complaining about? What's the actual danger you have? And then people will have this coronavirus thing to look back on. Like, this was lives on the line. That was the thing that actually shut down. You're demanding we should protest. You're demanding we should ban this company. We should boycott this company. But what are you boycotting this company of? You're boycotting this company because the CEO said something off color about a female? Or they didn't advertise for XYZ thing that you think is important? Hey, we just had a shutdown because people's lives were online. And now you want us to go back to that kind of situation because of this? It's not going to fly anymore. So there are certain ideologies that were feeding off of an environment that had excess wealth. But there's going to be other things that might have been considered more benign that people are not going to go back to. I don't think the entertainment industry, the sports entertainment, news entertainment, it's going to be different. People are going to reevaluate what was important in their life and what is worth spending time on. They're going to find other ways and better ways to do things. And this is a positive. This is a good thing. There's going to be many people who are just going through the motions of certain things that are going to be given the chance to rethink and replan and readjust to what is actually positive for them and what actually gives them good results, what makes them happy. And people also counts women. They're part of people. So yes, some bad things will happen. Some people will die. That is a horrific thing. But in general, when it comes to an ideology, the way people approach things, this is almost a near-death experience for people's general worldview. And then when people normally have near-death experiences, they come back and they rethink the things that they were doing as a person, as an individual. I think you're going to see this on a societal level. And a good example for this one is just the people spending time at home. A lot of people who are now have to work at home. They could be people who were in a mentality where they thought we need 2 jobs in order to actually maintain the lifestyle and happiness level that we want, because that's just what they were raised into thinking. There's some people thinking you don't need to be at home with your children. You need to be working to provide money from them. And then now the jobs are taken out, they're spending more time at home. They start to realize that, hey, we've been at home for 3 months. We're not at school. We don't need $200,000 a year. We don't need our parents to both be working so we can aim to send our kid to this school. Oh, this school has to be hanging out with these people. We don't have to be going to all these dinner parties and hanging out with these people in this sense. We can still get so much just from each other. So we don't need to go back to a life where we have 2 jobs in order to live in X location and send kid to Y school and maintain Z sort of resources. We can cut back. We looked at what if we only had 50,000. What kind of life would we have? If we had 50,000, but we had the time to spend with each other like the way we are, then that's actually more worthwhile. For many people out there, it never was a consideration. Part of that erroneously claimed gender wage gap is they look at just all women versus all men. You look at women that have never been married and men that have never been married, single men, single women, and they earn around the same. The gap is negligible. But what happens is women often get to the point in their life where they have kids and then they go home and spend time with those kids. And then they find out, hey, I would rather spend time with my kid versus go back to work 40 plus hour weeks. Then they take a part-time job that does 20 hours or something. And then now they're making less than the average male of that age. Now, how many women will get to a situation where they thought all they needed was actually just that 1 month, 2 months maternity leave that they had? And then now they get to a situation where they can work certain things that they had at their job from home and get the bonus of spending time with their kids. And then they think, I'm not going to go back to that rat race. I don't need that. I'm getting much more fulfillment spending time here with my kids. Things are going to change. And I say for the better. Because even from the kids' point of view, you have some kids who just want to spend time with their parents. Some of the reasons some kids act out on things like this is because they just don't have time with their parents. That's the people that brought them into this world. These are the gods to these kids. And they just want to be known. They just want to be around them. They just want mom and dad to be there. And then now they're going to have mom and dad to be there. They're going to be better, happier. And the parents are going to notice this. Most parents are doing what they're doing because they care about the kid. They just think the kid cares about the money and things like this when they don't. But they were just raised this way. They were just told this. And then people are going to see these things. There's some things that are hard for people to just imagine, but then the truth is the truth. You don't really need to be convinced that much of the truth. You just see the truth. But then somebody imagine the truth is a different thing. There's going to be families out there where the father thought, yes, to me, I need to support my wife. I need to support my mother. And then the mother thought, I need to be a new type of woman and show this new thing to my kids. And the kids thought, my parents are working this way and I need to be happy for them in school. And this is what we do in this current year. But then they'll live together and see that. Then the man will be like, hey, I know these are the things that I'm told are being a chauvinist, but we are all much happier together when we spend time with each other. He can see that his wife is the happiest that she's been in a long time, despite all the challenges that they have. They'll see that, yes, we still have stresses, we still have challenges, we still have considerations, but the gift, the reason that we were doing these challenges and considerations before was to spend time together as a family, was for each other. And we can still have those challenges and actually get more of that benefit of spending time with each other. So he'll think, now that I need to go back to work, we've already considered none of us having a job again. So now that we have a consideration of, hey, what if one of us has a job? Now that I've spent time out of this work, this habit that I thought that I had to do, I can consider taking a job that's going to actually be able to enable this preferential lifestyle that we've now been exposed to, that we now actually realize is not this evil, backward type of thing that we were taught to actually have, that we have to outgrow. They'll think maybe this is something that we can actually choose to actually have. Some businesses were doing the identity politics things because not just the excess wealth, but they thought this was actually making the people happier. But then you get to a situation where people are working remotely, you're still getting some of these results, you're restructuring what you're doing, and then you find out, hey, some of these problems that were occurring in the office can be done away with if people work from home. So let me know what you think about this thing. What are other things that you think that other people haven't really thought of yet that will be casualties in this post-COVID-19 reality that we're entering? That's it for this video. Thanks a lot for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. Links below to the merchandise store. You can help me out with a one-time donation on PayPal. Until next one, goodbye. Stay healthy. Stay safe.